Hey, all right, part three. Let's look at a couple more body paragraphs. So here's one. Atticus shows that he is not like the rest of society because he is defending a minority. All of Maycomb does not either understand or believe why Atticus would do this. Almost all lawyers would just give up when defending a minority, but not Atticus. The reader can see in the novel that he is put lower in society because of taking the case and defending Tom Robinson. Their society does not see Atticus's thinking and why he is doing it. He's doing this because he believes that everyone is equal. If Atticus did not believe this thinking, then he would just give up defending Tom. Atticus knows that in the end, no matter what he proved, the case would already be decided, and Tom would be proven guilty because of the prejudiced thinking of society. That does not stop him from giving, as seen in the novel when Atticus proves that Mr. Yule abused his daughter and has facts to support that Tom was not the culprit. The arguments would have been enough to prove the person innocent if the person was white. This was not the case for Tom Robinson. The reason that Atticus defends Tom is to show his views that he believes everyone is equal, even minorities. This is good. So even though this doesn't have quotes, in the instance of an in-class essay or a quick write situation, you will not always be required to have quotes, so long as you can cite facts from the text. Now, again, hear me please that this is different than maybe a normal essay situation where you would have had a lot of time. Maybe it was something that I gave you several weeks to work on as we were processing through a novel. In most cases, you will have direct quotes. But in some cases, it is acceptable to paraphrase or summarize when you don't have the content with you immediately on hand. So what this student does is he cites a specific instance for which the character kind of acted. So it's like you present a fact. Remember in my formula that I give you, or kind of the outline, it's evidence, explanation. Evidence can be a quote, but it can also be a paraphrase or a summary. And in this case, it's a paraphrase and a summary in some cases of what happens with Atticus's interaction at the court. And then the student provides, after the evidence, the explanation. And this explanation is important. It goes into not only what Atticus does, sort of that fact-based information, but it goes into why he does it or what the implications are of having done that. And so he talks about interweaves a conversation about the prejudiced thinking of society. Not only does he talk about Tom, but he talks about his conversation with Bob Yule and his daughter, that Atticus doesn't hold anything even against the one who's promoting injustice, but he aims to help the Yule family by advocating for his daughter who's been abused. And so it continues to reinforce throughout the entire paragraph this concept of defending a minority, whether it's a minority because of race or a minority because of socioeconomic class. So the student did a really nice job of taking a point and basically breaking down that point into succinct arguments that reinforce the point and relate back to the thesis statement about Atticus's wisdom as he does not conform to the patterns of society. Do you see how that's all kind of succinctly interwoven and it all connects to reinforce the student's argument? So that's perfectly what a person would want to do. I'll show you one more body paragraph, then we'll look at conclusions and we'll be done with this segment. So on Scout, you could definitely say she was treated differently by everyone because she was a girl. I would put sexism on her because of what others do. Scout is not supposed to do anything a boy might do. That includes running around and being crazy like any young elementary-aged child should. She is supposed to become a lady and do things that ladies are supposed to do, like the missionary thing that really only is a gossip session. She is supposed to do stuff around the house and she doesn't. She runs around doing fun things like a boy might do. Scout is treated differently because of her choices and it isn't fair to her. As a kid, she should be a kid. That is why I chose that ism. I like contrasting this with the one I just showed you because both of them rely upon paraphrase. One of them does it more factually. This one does it in a much more casual manner, and I wouldn't suggest doing that for an academic essay. So let's go through and look at the language that could be more direct or complex. So First off, with on Scout, you could say she was treated differently. I'm not exactly sure what this on Scout. And we're also using the word you, which I've said do not use anything but third person. So Scout was treated differently by everyone because she was a girl. It says the same thing, but it makes it more direct and uses the third person. I would put sexism on her. So sexism applies to her because of what others do. Can you think of a specific instance? Sexism applies to Scout as seen through Aunt Alexandra's comments as well as Miss Rachel, and we'll do Jem. Okay, so rather than just saying sexism applies because of what others do, you could say it applies to Scout as seen through Aunt Alexandra's comments as well as Miss Rachel's and Jem's. And I can't remember, I think it's just EL. So Scout is not supposed to do anything a boy might do. What evidence do you have of that? Can you think of anything, even off the top of your head in that 45-minute writing period, that could be more fact-based than just a generic comment? So Scout is not supposed to do anything a boy might do. What was she specifically prevented from doing? It's not anything. Shy away from words like anything or always. Scout is not supposed to dress like a boy. What else is she not supposed to? In pants. And she wears her overalls. Nor is she permitted to, can you think of others? You could put those in there, or blank, and there are some. Okay, that includes, the student says, running around and being crazy like any young elementary age child should do. I can't recall a moment in the book where she is chastised for running around like for being crazy. They don't quite say that because she's a girl. The things that it does point to are her emotions. So, because she is a girl, she expresses her emotions, and Jem says, "You're acting like a girl." So, Scout is not supposed to dress like a boy in pants and overalls, nor is she permitted to show her emotions unless she is to be labeled weak and girly. Can you think of other things? This is where classroom feedback would be helpful because I'm doing all of this on my own now. Let's see what else that the student writes. She's supposed to become a lady and do the things ladies are supposed to do, like the missionary thing that really only is a gossip session. This is the student's own opinion. You want to leave that out. So unless she is labeled weak and girly, and rather than reading the paper and discussing current events, Scout should be socializing with neighborhood women about matters of Christian import or importance. So now we have actual events summarized of what Scout is supposed to do. She is supposed to become a lady and do things lady is supposed to do. Let's take out this gossip session comment because while it is, that's not directly important here. She is supposed to do stuff around the house that she doesn't. Again, you want to cite a specific example if you can, where Calpurnia has her hold the tea set and bring it into the ladies or whatever that might be. She runs around doing fun things like a boy might do. Okay, we've got that out of the way. So now we're getting to the analysis. All of this is still the evidence. Now we want the explanation or the analysis. Scout is treated differently because of her choices, and it isn't fair to her. Expand on that a little bit more. As a kid, she should be a kid. That's why I chose that ism. Well, now this isn't specifically talking about feminism. So if we concluded this effectively, Scout is treated differently because of her choices. It's not because of her choices, because of her gender. And her self-expression is limited her self-expression and freedoms are limited to socially determined gender roles and behaviors, which violates a human right of expression, some would say. All right, so now we have the analysis is that Scout is treated differently because of her gender, and her self-expression and freedoms are limited to socially determined gender roles and behaviors, which violates a human right of expression, or her human right of expression. And now that's analysis. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, kind of what I'm looking for in the body paragraphs. It's the same thing I've been looking for all year. Strong topic sentences that reinforce what the paragraph is going to argue. They need to come from your thesis statement. Secondly, you have to have evidence, not just like, oh, I'm writing in a casual way as if I'm talking to my friend, but like succinct, fact-based evidence from the book. It's best if it's a quote. If you have to paraphrase, make sure you know what you're talking about and give specific details. Then you analyze that through your explanation and you show why this is significant or how it changes the events of the book or why the reader should care about that, okay? Then you conclude your essay by reiterating some of the main points that you've argued and stating sort of after arguing all of this, what can I say about this character? Once we've looked at, you know, how Scout is creative and she's playful and she's kind of treated unfairly, what final thought do you want to leave the reader with? So let's go ahead and look at how a few students end their essays. Racism and classism are unjust because all people are made by God in His image. Everyone should be treated with respect and compassion no matter their station in life. This is fine. It's a student's opinion. And I think it could be woven in, but it really does need to be in third person, which this is, but again, it's not focused on the student, it needs to be focused on the character. I guess that's more the point that I want to make there, is what does this then say about, who's the person analyzing, about Jem? What does Jem have to do with racism and classism? If we look at the final paragraph in this one, conforming to society is the easy way to go, but Atticus takes the hard task of doing things that society would not agree with. Atticus knows that what he's doing is right. He knows that what he does, his children will see. Atticus wants his children to grow up and mature in the right way. He does not conform to society as seen through defending a minority, not holding grudges, and guiding his children in wisdom. So that reiterates the points, and we have a final thought to take away, like this is who Atticus is as a character. Okay, so now that we've talked about all of those details, you have an opportunity to revise your essays at any point. Because the 45-minute session was just to get something out there, and now you go back and you make it better, and you improve it, and you perfect it. So that's the opportunity that you are invited to. I won't grade the final version, at least until I think it's April 14th is when we can start putting grades in. So feel free to ask any further questions that you may have, but hopefully this was helpful in explaining kind of the core ideas to you. Also, I don't think any of these had a works cited page. Please, please, you need to have a works cited page. Even if you don't have quotes, if you're just paraphrasing or summarizing, you need to include that. So go find an online version and type up an accurate works cited.